Welcome to the mini training course on how to build an agent that can help you query your own data. This is going to be a mini series of 10 episodes where we start from the beginning about what is AI agent, what information you need to know when building one, and get you all the way through with the step-by-step on how to use systems like n8n and OpenAI to build AI agent that can help to answer questions. The agent you're going to be building is the one you see on the screen. It will have a chat interface. It will have agent configuration module where you will learn how to prompt, how to answer the questions, how to query tools. We will configure step by step a series of tools as basic as calculator, connect some data, in this case some Google Sheets with the customer information, so the agent would know how to list customers, get the information about each individual customer, get orders. And we will also configure GPT API access as well as the memory so the agent could remember the conversations and answer in context. Now, without further ado, let's start. To learn how to build AI like this one, you need to know what is AI, what is LLM, what is an agent. Let's start with those fundamental concepts. Since the rise of ChatGPT, AI and LLMs is often used as interchangeable concepts. But that's not entirely true. AI has been around for a very long time. It's an artificial intelligence system that has multiple techniques which allow computers to simulate human behavior. That's why we sometimes call it intelligence, which in many ways is an unfortunate meaning. Now, within artificial intelligence, there's an area of machine learning. Machine learning is a study that gives computers the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. What does that really mean? That means the computers were not given explicit set of rules or even then statements how to make decisions. Instead, the computers were presented with data and algorithms that allowed it to find patterns in that data for decision making. Now, within machine learning, we have deep learning, and within deep learning, have generative artificial intelligence. Deep learning is the set of more advanced algorithms that boost machine learning. It has neural networks, various types of those, decision trees, gradient boost, all sorts of different algorithms that allow computers to find patterns in data. Now, next one is a generative AI. That's what powers ChatGPT, although there are lots of different forms of generative AI. For example, AI that generates music, LLM, is a large language model. This large language model specifically deals with the language, which was trained on the plain text from the internet to predict the next word. Now, what is the difference between these two? Generative AI, for example, images generation of AlphaFold, how the proteins fold, all of those are generative AI, artificial intelligence that generates the output. Now, those outputs not always text, it's various other forms, which is why LLM is a part of generative AI. But generative AI is not part of LLM. Knowing these things, you will be able to understand the difference, that when you ask for insurance quote, insurance company uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to predict a likelihood of you claiming against your policy and therefore how much that policy should cost you. But those prediction algorithms are not generative AI or LLMs. Number plate is scanned by CCTV camera. That is a form of artificial intelligence, but not necessarily part of generative artificial intelligence or LLM. In my explanation of the large language models and ChatGPTs, I used various other words like tokens, where I explained that generative AI, such as large language models, they train to predict tokens. So what is a token? The token is a basic unit of processing for the large language models, which is about 3/4 of a typical word in English. It can be a word, it can be a character, could be a punctuation. It directly impacts how much your inquiry with the ChatGPT will cost you. Context is also measured in the length of tokens. It also means the tokens and their conversion means how much information you can process at any one time. AI Foundation Workshop is about 5 different tokens, where foundation is broken down into 2 words and workshop is broken down into 2 words. A good way of visualizing tokens is to use applications such as Tokenizer. This one is available on the OpenAI platform. If I click example, you can select which model you would like to see. Different models visualize and process tokens differently. It's part of their secret sauce of how they work. On this particular example for GPT-4, you can see that this sentence over here, including these emojis, is represented by 53 tokens, and that's a 252 characters. Let's have a look at examples. Emojis represented by multiple tokens, while numbers broken down into the groups of numbers, not necessarily into individual digits. In a smaller, shorter sentence like that, pretty much every single character, every single word is a separate token. When the large language model is generating an answer, like a ChatGPT, it predicts the next token based on the likelihood. So it simply thinks about which next token is most likely to be put there. There is no magic behind it. If I were to ask you a question, as students walked into a class and they opened what? Based on your life experience, you could say they opened books, or maybe notebooks. Large language model will predict based on what it knows and what kind of data it was trained on. Let's go back to our agent that we will be building in one of the next lessons. Let's ask it a question. For example, how many customers do we have? Here, you could see the agent is using OpenAI API, and it used in total 9,967 tokens. Our simple sentence of 6 words generated 9,967 tokens. It had a look at what's been previously asked. It looked into memory. It queried the list of customers that we have in the database here in our Excel spreadsheet. It then processed that, referred back to the memory, and came back with an answer. All of that was 10,000 tokens. Now, for a business person like yourself, you might ask, so what? What does it mean, 10,000 tokens? Is that a lot? Is that not so much? What does it mean for me? And that depends. Tokens directly translates into your cost. One of the main factors to think about when using systems like that can process thousands and tens of millions of tokens every hour, which then can translate into the cost. Let's talk about costs. On the screen, you see OpenAI pricing for various models. Notice how different the costs are. A model such as GPT 4.5 will cost $75 a million, while other models for the same number of tokens will cost only 40 American. That means knowing which model to use and how many tokens you need to process could make or break your budget for running an agent. And that makes a difference if your agent runs 24/7 on your website, answering all the queries from all the visitors, to generating tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, in costs to the OpenAI. Now, you could use different models. And here's an example from Nebius, one of the providers of open source models. You can see the prices per million tokens vary drastically. DeepSeek could cost about 80 cents for 1 million tokens, and then also Llama 3.3, where it's only 13 cents for the million of tokens. That's for the base processing. And of course, if you have time-sensitive queries and you would like to execute those queries, generate tokens as fast as possible, you also have additional costs. Just like with OpenAPI, the pricing for input tokens and output tokens differs. Now I used another word that you may not be familiar with, and that is a prompt. Let's talk about what is a prompt. One way to think about the prompt is a set of instructions to be given to an AI model. And that set of instructions then prompts for AI to execute and provide an answer. A crafted prompt will make the difference between getting the answer that you want towards something that's completely unpredictable and irrelevant. It's often the difference in prompting that will make the difference in the quality and the output. A good prompt can easily reduce the cost of your OpenAPI. The good prompt will make all the difference in the quality and the cost of your interaction with the AI agents. Let's go back to the example that we will be building in one of the lessons. Over here, we have an agent. Within this agent, we have defined a prompt. We defined what it should behave like. We say you are the customer support agent for Agentic Order Management, and we also explain to it what different tools available, what inputs and outputs available, what formats available. We give it a set of rules. We specify to use British English and be polite. We explain to it to only use one tool at any one time. And last but not least, we explain a workflow for how to handle queries. In many ways, a good prompt usually consists of a number of steps, where you tell the agent what role you want the agent to play, what tools to use, how to behave when playing that role, and what output you expect. Let's have a look how our agent on the previous query handled that particular prompt. We can see our inputs and outputs. And over here in the input, when we ask the question, the agent received that prompt as well as the question. The question we asked in our chat system prompt is not going to change in most cases for this particular agent. We received an output where it said, "Thank you for questioning regarding the number of customers we have. I will retrieve a list of all customers to provide you with an accurate count." It then went on to use one tool, list customers, where it retrieved all of the customers. It processed the system prompt as well as the answer from our tool. It referred to the memory for previous parts of the conversation, and it then generated an answer for that. And the answer was 91 customers. Thank you for listening to this first lesson all the way to the end. This was a first introduction to the AI, where I explained what is a prompt, what is a token, and how that is combined to manage the quality and the cost of interaction with AI agents. Tune in for the next lesson, where we will register for an A10 account. I will talk about various types of models available out there, and we will connect the first basic agent to OpenAI API. Until then.